The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 3,000 worlds across the galaxy. Their soldiers stood 12 feet tall with armor made from compressed star matter. Each warrior could crush diamonds with their bare hands and see in 17 different spectrums of light. They had never lost a battle in 10,000 years of conquest. Commander Krex stood on the bridge of his warship, studying the blue planet below. Earth floated peacefully in space, unaware of its approaching doom. The humans had only recently discovered radio waves, while the Zephyrians traveled between stars faster than light. This would be the easiest conquest in their history. Such primitive creatures, Krex said to his second-in-command. They still burn fossil fuels and fight each other with chemical explosives. Our scout reports show they haven't even colonized their own moon. His lieutenant nodded. Should we demand surrender first, Commander? No need. Deploy the ground forces to their military installations. Start with this place called Camp Pendleton in their California region. Our intelligence shows it houses their Marines, apparently their most elite warriors. Krex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Elite by human standards. My youngest hatchling could defeat 100 of them. The Zephyrian drop ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Each ship carried 50 soldiers equipped with plasma cannons, force shields, and combat suits that could withstand a nuclear blast. They expected to secure the entire planet within 3 Earth hours. Inside Camp Pendleton, Lance Corporal Jake Martinez was cleaning his rifle when the alarm started blaring. He looked up to see strange lights filling the sky. The other Marines in his squad jumped to their feet, grabbing their gear with practiced efficiency. What the hell is that? Private Johnson asked, pointing at the alien ships landing on the parade grounds. Gunnery Sergeant Thompson appeared in the doorway, already in full combat gear. I don't know what it is, but nothing lands in our house without permission. Marines, gear up. We've got uninvited guests. The first Zephyrian soldiers emerged from their ships, their massive forms casting long shadows in the California sun. They moved with casual confidence, not even raising their weapons. Why waste energy on creatures that couldn't possibly harm them? Commander Krex's voice echoed across the base through powerful speakers. Humans of Earth, you are now subjects of the Zephyrian Empire. Lay down your primitive weapons and accept your fate. Resistance will result in a gunshot rang out. Then another. Then hundreds more. The Marines had opened fire without waiting for the aliens to finish their speech. Bullets sparked harmlessly off the Zephyrian shields at first, but the Marines kept shooting, probing for weaknesses. Is that the best they can do? Lieutenant Vrax laughed, stepping forward. These projectiles are even more primitive than we thought. Sergeant Thompson watched the bullets bounce off and barked orders. Johnson, get the 50 cal. Martinez, break out the F4S. Williams, call in artillery support. The Zephyrians continued their casual advance until Private Johnson wheeled out the M2 Browning heavy machine gun. The massive 50 caliber rounds slammed into the alien shields with tremendous force. While still not penetrating, the repeated impacts caused the shields to flicker and strain. Interesting, Vrax muttered. Their weapons are primitive but surprisingly powerful for chemical-based projectiles. Then, Martinez fired an F4 anti-tank rocket. The explosion rocked the lead Zephyrian warrior, and for the first time in millennia, the Zephyrian soldiers stumbled in battle. The Marines saw it and cheered. They could be hurt. Thompson yelled, Politon, Marine. What the Zephyrians didn't understand was that humans had been perfecting the art of war against each other for thousands of years. While the aliens had superior technology, they had grown complacent after centuries of easy victories. The humans had learned to be creative, vicious, and unpredictable because they had always fought equals. The Marines split into fire teams, using tactics refined in countless battles. They moved between buildings, set up crossfires, and used their knowledge of the terrain. When the Zephyrians raised their plasma weapons, snipers targeted what looked like weak points in their armor. Lieutenant Vrax finally decided to end this annoyance. He raised his plasma cannon and fired at a Marine position. The building exploded in a ball of superheated gas. But when the smoke cleared, the Marines had already relocated. They had learned in Iraq and Afghanistan that staying still meant death. Clever little creatures, Vrax admitted grudgingly. Then the artillery arrived. The first 155 millimeters shell slammed into the Zephyrian formation with the force of divine anger. The aliens had shields designed to stop energy weapons and small projectiles, not massive explosive shells designed to crack bunkers. 3 Zephyrians went down, their perfect armor cracked like eggs. Commander Krex watched the tactical feed in shock. His immortal, invincible warriors were taking casualties from a species that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel. Impossible, he breathed, but it was possible, and it was just beginning. The Marines had sent out the call, and Camp Pendleton was responding. Cobra attack helicopters appeared over the horizon, their rotors beating the air like war drums. Hellfire missiles streaked toward the alien landing ships. Tank battalions rolled out from their motor pools, main guns traversing toward the invaders. The Zephyrians found themselves in their first real fight in 10,000 years, and they were losing ground to opponents a fraction of their size using technology they considered antique. What they didn't understand was that humans didn't fight fair. They didn't follow galactic combat protocols or honor duels. They fought to win by any means necessary. Corporal Sarah Chun had studied the alien movements for 10 minutes before she noticed a pattern. The big aliens turned slowly, probably because of their size and heavy armor. She grabbed a law rocket and her squad. "Follow me," she said. "We're going to teach these bastards why you don't mess with Marines." They sprinted through the smoke and chaos, using wrecked vehicles as cover. Chun had been a marathon runner before joining the Corps, and she used that speed now. The squad flanked wide around the alien position, while their buddies kept the Zephyrians focused forward. When they reached the perfect angle, Chun stood up with the rocket launcher on her shoulder. "Hey, ugly," she shouted. The nearest Zephyrian turned its massive head just as she fired. The rocket hit the alien in the side of the helmet, where the armor plates joined. The explosion found a weak spot, and purple blood sprayed across the parade ground. The other Zephyrians spun toward this new threat, but Chin's squad was already moving, disappearing into the smoke like ghosts. This was human warfare. Hit and run. Never give the enemy a stationary target. Use speed and cunning against strength. Up in orbit, Commander Krex watched his tactical display with growing alarm. The humans were not cowering in fear. They were not surrendering. They were adapting to fight his soldiers with terrifying efficiency. "Sir," his communications officer said, voice tight with worry, "I'm intercepting human military transmissions. They're mobilizing forces across the entire planet. Something called NATO is activating. The Russians and Chinese are moving their armies. They're uniting against us." Krex felt something he hadn't experienced in his long life, doubt. The humans were responding faster than any species they had ever encountered. Most planets took days to even understand they were under attack. Earth had started fighting back in minutes. On the ground, the Marines had brought out their newest toys. Javelin missiles with tandem warheads designed to defeat modern tank armor proved surprisingly effective against alien shields. The first warhead would weaken the shield, and the second would punch through. Gunnery Sergeant Thompson coordinated the defense from a command post, his radio crackling with reports from across the base. "All units, they bleed purple, and they die like everything else. Keep hitting them." The Zephyrians tried to adapt. They tightened their formations and overlapped their shields. But then Marine snipers started targeting the joints in their armor with 50 caliber armor-piercing rounds. When the aliens bunched up, mortar teams dropped high explosive shells on their heads. Private Martinez had an idea. He had noticed the aliens' weapons needed a moment to charge before firing. In that moment, they were vulnerable. He grabbed a grenade launcher and loaded it with flashbang rounds. "Watch this," he told his squad. When a Zephyrian raised its plasma cannon, Martinez fired the flashbang directly at its helmet. The explosion of light and sound, designed to disorient humans, completely overwhelmed the alien's 17-spectrum vision. The creature stumbled, clutching its head, and 3 Marines immediately concentrated fire on its temporarily unshielded form. The tactic spread through the Marine ranks like wildfire. Soon, the air was full of flashbangs, smoke grenades, and anything else that could confuse alien senses designed for the sterile environment of space combat. The Zephyrians had expected to fight a primitive species, cowering before their technological superiority. Instead, they faced warriors who had learned their craft in the harsh crucible of fighting their own kind. Every dirty trick, every improvised weapon, every tactical innovation humans had developed to kill other humans was now turned against the invaders. Lieutenant Vrax found himself pinned behind the wreckage of his own drop ship. Bullets and shrapnel filled the air around him. His perfect armor was cracked in a dozen places, purple blood seeping through. He tried to raise his plasma cannon, but a human sniper put a round through his wrist joint, making him drop the weapon. Ow! He gasped into his communicator. How are they doing this? The answer came from an unexpected source. His translator picked up human combat chatter, and one phrase kept repeating, improvise, adapt, overcome. The humans weren't following any playbook the Zephyrians understood. When one tactic stopped working, they immediately tried something else. When they ran low on anti-tank rockets, they started making improvised explosives. When the aliens adapted to one form of attack, the humans had 3 more ready. Worse, the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. Vrax heard them laughing, making jokes, betting on who could kill more invaders. They had turned the battle into a competition among themselves. Commander Krex watched the disaster unfold from orbit. 20% of his ground force was dead or wounded. His invincible warriors were being systematically taken apart by creatures 1/3 their size, using weapons his people had abandoned millennia ago as obsolete. Sir, his lieutenant said quietly, the humans are broadcasting something. On the main screen appeared a grizzled human warrior, Gunnery Sergeant Thompson. His uniform was torn and dirty, his face streaked with mud and blood, but his eyes burned with fierce determination. Attention, alien commander, Thompson growled. This is Gunnery Sergeant Thompson, United States Marine Corps. You picked the wrong planet, and you sure as hell picked the wrong Marines. We've been fighting and dying on this rock for 250 years. We've faced every enemy mankind could throw at us, and we're still here. You on Earth? Come and take it. But I promise you this, for every Marine you kill, we'll take 10 of yours with us. And, buddy, we've got a lot of Marines. The transmission ended. Krex stared at the screen in silence. In 10,000 years of conquest, no species had ever spoken to the Zephyrian Empire with such defiance. They had encountered advanced civilizations that tried to negotiate, primitive worlds that surrendered immediately, and everything in between. But never this, a species that seemed to relish the challenge. Commander, his tactical officer reported, human reinforcements are arriving at their base. Armored vehicles, aircraft, and, sir, they're bringing something called Marines from other bases. Our forces are requesting immediate extraction. Krex closed his eyes. Extraction. Retreat. Words that had never been spoken in the history of the Zephyrian military. On the ground, the Marines pressed their advantage. They had learned the aliens' weaknesses and exploited them ruthlessly. Tank rounds could crack their armor. Concentrated small arms fire could overload their shields. They moved slowly compared to humans, and their size made them easy targets. But most importantly, the aliens had made the fatal mistake of underestimating humanity. They saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds. They didn't understand that humans had turned warfare into both an art and a science, refined through countless conflicts. As the sun began to set over Camp Pendleton, the remaining Zephyrians retreated to their landing ships under heavy fire. Marines pursued them every step of the way, making them pay for every meter of ground. Lance Corporal Martinez watched the alien ships lift off, their anti-gravity drives whining with the strain of emergency departure. Around him, Marines cheered and exchanged high fives. Think they'll come back? Private Johnson asked, reloading his rifle out of habit. Sergeant Thompson spat on the ground, which was purple with alien blood. Let them come. We've got plenty more where that came from. In orbit, Commander Krex faced the hardest decision of his career. His forces had suffered 30% casualties in less than one Earth day. The humans had united against them faster than any species in recorded history. And worse, they seemed to learn and adapt at a frightening pace. "Sir," his science officer said, "I've been analyzing the combat data. The humans, they don't fight like other species. They use deception, misdirection, and unconventional tactics. They target weaknesses we didn't even know we had. And, sir, they enjoy war. It's not a necessity for them. It's something they've perfected." Krex nodded slowly. "Signal the fleet. We're withdrawing to reassess. Mark this planet as a Class X threat." "Class X, sir? But that designation is only for species too dangerous to conquer through conventional means," Krex finished. "Yes, the humans have earned it." As the Zephyrian fleet pulled back from Earth, messages started flooding in from human governments. Not messages of fear or pleas for mercy, but warnings. If the aliens returned, Earth would be ready. The sleeping giant had been awakened, and it was angry. Back at Camp Pendleton, Marines were already analyzing the alien technology left behind. Engineers swarmed over damaged armor plating. Scientists collected purple blood samples. Intelligence officers studied everything they could find, because that was the thing about humans that the Zephyrians had failed to understand. Give them an enemy, and they'll find a way to beat it. Give them advanced technology, and they'll reverse engineer it. Give them a war, and they'll turn it into an opportunity. The Battle of Camp Pendleton would go down in history as humanity's first contact with hostile alien life. But for the Marines who fought it, it was just another day at the office. They had faced the best the galaxy could throw at them and sent them running. As night fell over the base, Sergeant Thompson gathered his Marines. "Outstanding work today, people. You just showed the universe what happens when they mess with the core. But don't get cocky. They'll be back, probably with friends. So we're going to train harder, fight smarter, and be ready." "Aura!" the Marines shouted in unison. The Zephyrian Empire had expected to conquer Earth in 3 hours. Instead, they had received a lesson in human warfare that would spread across the galaxy. The message was simple. Humans were not prey. They were predators, and they had just announced themselves to the universe. And somewhere in the depths of space, Commander Krex studied his tactical displays and wondered if his empire had just made the worst mistake in its 10,000-year history. Because the humans weren't just defending their world, they were learning how to take the fight to the stars. 3 weeks had passed since the Zephyrian Empire's failed invasion at Camp Pendleton. Earth had changed overnight. The attack united humanity like nothing in history. Old enemies shook hands. Rival nations shared technology, and the entire planet mobilized for war. In a classified bunker beneath Cheyenne Mountain, General Patricia Hayes stood before a gathering of the world's military leaders. Representatives from every major power were present: American, Russian, Chinese, British, Israeli, Indian, and dozens more. Above them, holographic displays showed captured alien technology being reverse-engineered at facilities across the globe. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Hayes began, "the alien equipment recovered from Camp Pendleton has given us insights into their technology. Their shields are electromagnetic-based. Their armor uses a crystalline structure we're learning to crack. Most importantly, their faster-than-light communication system was damaged, but partially functional." She clicked a remote, and intercepted alien communications filled the air. The computer translated the growling speech. "The Zephyrians are debating whether to return with a larger force or quarantine our entire solar system. We've bought time, but not much." Colonel Chinwei of the Chinese People's Liberation Army leaned forward. "How much of their technology have we decoded?" "Enough to know we're still outgunned," Hayes admitted. "But we've learned something crucial. Their military doctrine hasn't faced real opposition in thousands of years. They're used to overwhelming force, not guerrilla tactics or asymmetric warfare." Russian General Volkov smiled grimly. "Then we give them Afghanistan in space. We give them Vietnam on a planetary scale. We make conquering Earth so costly that even victory becomes defeat." The room murmured with agreement. Humans knew how to fight larger, more technologically advanced forces. They had done it throughout history. Meanwhile, in orbit around Neptune, the Zephyrian fleet waited and watched. Commander Krex had called for reinforcements, but the Imperial Senate was skeptical. No single planet had ever required more than one battle group to conquer. You lost 30% of your ground forces to primitives? Senator Zek's hologram sneered. Perhaps you're simply incompetent, Commander. Krex kept his temper with effort. Senator, I invite you to review the combat footage. These humans are unlike anything we've encountered. They adapt to our tactics in real time. They use their inferior technology in ways we never anticipated. They seem to thrive on warfare itself. Excuses? Another senator spat. One more attempt, Commander. Take your full force. If you fail again, you'll face the tribunal. The transmission ended. Krex turned to his officers. Prepare the entire fleet for planetary assault. This time, we'll bombard their military bases from orbit before landing troops. His tactical officer hesitated. Sir, orbital bombardment of a primitive species violates the Galactic Accord of the humans already violated it by successfully resisting, Krex interrupted. The rules no longer apply. On Earth, humanity prepared for round 2. The reverse-engineered alien technology had yielded unexpected benefits. Their shield generators, while power-hungry, could be modified to protect key installations. Their communication systems gave humanity its first taste of quantum entanglement transmission. At a secret facility in Nevada, Dr. Sarah Kim made a breakthrough. The alien armor has a resonance frequency, she announced to her team. If we modulate our weapons' signatures to match, we can shatter it like glass. Within days, the information spread to military units worldwide. Weapons were modified, new ammunition was developed, and tactics were adjusted. Humanity was doing what it did best, learning from its enemies and turning their strengths into weaknesses. The Marines at Camp Pendleton had become celebrities overnight. Lance Corporal Martinez found himself teaching special forces from around the world how to fight the massive aliens. His flashbang technique had been refined into specialized grenades designed to overload multiple sensory spectrums simultaneously. Remember, Martinez told a group of British SAS operators, they're big, strong, and tough. But they're also slow, predictable, and they really hate it when you don't fight fair. Gunnery Sergeant Thompson had been promoted and put in charge of developing anti-Zephyrian tactics. He worked with military historians, studying every insurgency, every resistance movement, every time a smaller force had bloodied a larger one. The aliens expect us to defend fixed positions, Thompson explained to his planning staff. So we don't. We hide in the cities, we use the terrain, we hit them and disappear. Make them afraid of every shadow, every building, every human they see. The military-industrial complex of Earth went into overdrive. Factories that once made cars now produced armor-piercing ammunition designed to exploit alien weak points. Shipyards designed for naval vessels began working on something new, humanity's first space-capable warships. In Moscow, Russian engineers had a different idea. They couldn't match alien technology directly, so they decided to use what they knew best, massive firepower. They began mounting modified ICBMs on mobile platforms, turning city killer weapons into alien killer weapons. The Israelis contributed their expertise in precision strikes and intelligence gathering. They had learned to fight larger forces through superior information and targeted elimination of key assets. Indian cyber warfare specialists worked on ways to hack alien systems. Every nation brought something to the table. But perhaps the most important development happened in a small bar in San Diego. Off-duty Marines were drinking and swapping stories about the battle when a young private made an observation. You know what bugs me about those aliens? They all fought the same way, like they were following a manual or something. Master Sergeant Williams, nursing his beer, suddenly sat up straight. Say that again, Marine. Well, it's like they all had the same training, made the same moves. No creativity, no individual initiative. What kind of military doesn't let its soldiers think for themselves? Williams immediately called it in. Within hours, military psychologists and strategists were analyzing the observation. The conclusion was stunning. The Zephyrian military was rigid, hierarchical, and inflexible. Take out their commanders, and the rest might not know what to do. The revelation changed everything. Human military doctrine emphasized individual initiative, decentralized command, and adaptability. Every squad leader could become a general if needed. Every private was trained to think, not just follow orders. 3 months after the first attack, long-range sensors detected the Zephyrian fleet moving toward Earth. This time, they came with 10 times the original force, 600 ships carrying 30,000 ground troops. General Hayes stood in the Global Defense Command Center, watching the approaching fleet on massive displays. Around her, military leaders from every nation coordinated humanity's response. "All stations report ready," her aide announced. "Operation David Sling is prepared to launch on your command." Hayes nodded. Humanity had not been idle. Hidden missile silos across the planet aimed modified nuclear weapons skyward, not at cities, but at incoming alien ships. Submarines prowled the oceans with vertical launch systems ready. Aircraft waited on runways with payloads designed to crack alien shields. "Let them come," Hayes said quietly. "We're ready this time." The Zephyrian fleet approached Earth with standard invasion protocol. They would establish orbital supremacy, bombard military installations, then land overwhelming ground forces. It worked on 3,000 worlds. Commander Krex stood on his flagship's bridge, watching Earth grow larger. "Begin orbital bombardment as soon as we're in range. Target their military bases first, then major population centers if they don't surrender." "Commander," his sensor officer suddenly called out, "I'm detecting massive launches from the planet's surface. Hundreds, no, thousands of projectiles incoming." Krex felt his confidence waver. "Thousands? Their entire nuclear arsenal." "It appears so, sir. They're not holding anything back." The human nuclear barrage was unlike anything the Zephyrians expected. These weren't warnings or desperate last measures. This was a calculated first strike using every nuclear weapon Earth could launch. Modified with information gleaned from captured alien technology, the warheads were set to detonate at precisely calculated distances to overload alien shields with electromagnetic pulses. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Krex commanded. "Point defense systems, full activation." The space around Earth lit up like a new sun. Nuclear detonations created a web of electromagnetic interference, radiation, and debris. Alien point defense systems worked overtime, destroying hundreds of missiles, but there were simply too many. The first warhead got through, detonating against a Zephyrian cruiser shields. The electromagnetic pulse, enhanced with knowledge of alien shield frequencies, caused a cascade failure. The shields flickered and died just as 3 more warheads arrived. The cruiser disappeared in nuclear fire. On Earth, every radar station, every telescope, every sensor watched the battle. When the first alien ship died, a cheer went up across the planet. Humanity had drawn first blood in the rematch. But the Zephyrians hadn't conquered 3,000 worlds by giving up easily. Their remaining ships pushed through the nuclear barrage, accepting losses to reach orbit. Plasma beams lanced down toward Earth's surface. This was what humanity had prepared for. Hidden across the globe were captured alien shield generators, modified and improved by human engineers. As plasma beams descended, shields sparked to life over major cities and military installations. The shields couldn't hold for long, but they didn't need to, because humanity's real defense wasn't shields or missiles. It was mobility. The moment the bombardment began, military forces scattered. Tanks disappeared into hidden bunkers. Aircraft dispersed to remote airfields. Ships put to sea. Infantry units melted into cities and wilderness. In minutes, the concentrated targets the Zephyrians expected to destroy simply weren't there anymore. Where are their forces? Lieutenant Vrax, recently promoted after surviving Camp Pendleton, asked in confusion. "Our sensors show empty bases." "Underground, most likely," Krex replied, "or dispersed into their cities." "No matter. Begin landing operations. We'll hunt them down." The dropships launched, but Earth had one more surprise. Hidden in shipping containers, disguised in civilian buildings, buried in farmers' fields, were thousands of surface-to-air missile systems. As the alien landing craft entered the atmosphere, the sky filled with missiles. These weren't standard SAMs. Human engineers had studied the destroyed drop ships from the first invasion. They knew exactly where to hit, what frequencies disrupted their engines, which angles their shields were weakest. The first wave of drop ships flew into a storm of smart weapons. Missiles jinked and weaved, some carrying conventional warheads, others carrying exotic payloads, thermite to burn through armor, electromagnetic warheads to fry systems, even simple kinetic penetrators moving at hypersonic speeds. 20% of the landing craft never made it to the ground. Others limped to Earth with damaged engines, easy prey for waiting human forces. But the Zephyrians kept coming. They had numbers, technology, and determination. Drop ships landed across the globe, disgorging thousands of massive warriors. This time, they came prepared for human tactics, or so they thought. In New York City, Zephyrian forces landed in Central Park expecting to establish a command post. Instead, they found the park empty except for strange devices hidden in the trees. The moment they moved to investigate, the devices activated sonic weapons that produced sounds at frequencies that resonated with Zephyrian helmet crystals. The aliens clutched their heads in agony as their own armor amplified the painful vibrations. From buildings surrounding the park, Marines and Army Rangers opened fire with modified weapons. Bullets now carried specialized tips that shattered on impact, sending fragments to find weak spots. Snipers used computer-assisted targeting to hit the exact same spot repeatedly, wearing through armor like water through stone. In Moscow, the Zephyrians faced a different nightmare. The Russians had turned their city into a fortress. Every building was a bunker, every street a kill zone. When alien forces advanced, entire blocks exploded. The Russians had rigged buildings with explosives rather than let them provide cover to the enemy. Russian forces didn't try to hold territory. They struck from the shadows with massive firepower, then disappeared into the extensive metro system. The aliens found themselves fighting ghosts who left only destruction in their wake. Beijing presented yet another challenge. The Chinese military used their massive population to their advantage. Millions of citizens had been given basic weapons training and simple equipment. The Zephyrians couldn't tell soldiers from civilians until it was too late. A grandmother might throw a Molotov cocktail filled with chemicals designed to eat through alien armor. A businessman might be carrying a bomb in his briefcase. But it was in London where the aliens learned the true horror of human chemical warfare. The British had analyzed alien biology from blood samples and developed targeted chemical weapons. Gas clouds rolled through the streets, designed to react with the specific proteins in Zephyrian respiratory systems. Their sealed armor protected them initially, but the chemicals were persistent, seeping through the smallest gaps, waiting for any breach. Commander Krex watched the tactical displays in growing horror. His forces were taking casualties at an unprecedented rate. Every city was a death trap. Every rural area harbored ambush sites. The humans had turned their entire planet into a weapon. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, voice shaking. "The humans aren't trying to defeat our forces directly. They're bleeding us. Every soldier we lose, every ship destroyed, is one we can't replace easily. They're willing to sacrifice their cities, their infrastructure, everything to hurt us." Krex realized with a chill that the humans understood something his people had forgotten. In war, victory wasn't always about winning battles. Sometimes it was about making victory too expensive for the enemy to afford. In the Pacific Ocean, another surprise awaited. The Zephyrians had ignored Earth's oceans, considering them empty space. They didn't know about submarines. When alien forces flew over water, missiles erupted from beneath the waves. Nuclear attack subs had been retrofitted with alien killer weapons, turning the seas into hunting grounds. The American submarine USS Virginia demonstrated why humans had mastered undersea warfare. It stalked a Zephyrian command ship that had landed on a Pacific island for repairs. The aliens never suspected danger could come from beneath the water until torpedoes modified with alien armor-piercing technology slammed into their ship's belly. Back at Camp Pendleton, the Marines faced their second Zephyrian assault. This time, The aliens came with 10 times the forces and hard-learned lessons. They advanced carefully, shields overlapping, heavy weapons ready. It didn't matter. The Marines had turned their base into a killing field. Every building was rigged with explosives. Underground tunnels allowed defenders to pop up anywhere. Automated weapons systems targeted alien weak points with mechanical precision. And the Marines themselves had evolved their tactics. Fire and move people. Gunnery Sergeant Thompson commanded his troops. Make them pay for every inch. Corporal Chun led her squad in what the Marines now called Zeph hunting. Using dirt bikes and ATVs, small teams raced through the base at speeds the massive aliens couldn't match. They fired anti-tank rockets at point-blank range, then disappeared before return fire could find them. Private Martinez had been promoted to sergeant for his innovations in anti-Zephyrian combat. He now commanded a platoon specializing in psychological warfare. They broadcast the dying screams of Zephyrian soldiers over loudspeakers, used holographic projectors to create false Marine positions, and employed every dirty trick in the book. The aliens had expected humans to fight with honor, to meet them in open battle. Instead, they faced an enemy that planted bombs in their food supplies, poisoned water sources, and attacked them in their sleep. There were no rules in human warfare except one: win. Lieutenant Vrax found himself leading an assault on a Marine position. His soldiers advanced under heavy shield cover, plasma weapons ready. They reached the building, kicked in the door, and found it empty except for a single piece of paper with writing in their own language. Boom! The building exploded, taking 12 Zephyrian soldiers with it. Across the planet, the pattern repeated. The Zephyrians would take a position only to find it booby-trapped. They would secure an area only to face constant harassment. They would establish a base only to have it bombarded by hidden artillery. In the Middle East, they learned why humans from that region were particularly dangerous. Insurgent tactics perfected over decades were employed with deadly efficiency. IEDs made from alien technology littered the roads. Suicide bombers struck Zephyrian gatherings. The desert itself seemed to swallow entire patrols. The Israelis contributed precision strikes that eliminated Zephyrian commanders with surgical accuracy. Mossad agents trained in infiltration and assassination found ways into alien command posts. They couldn't pass as Zephyrians, but they could plant bombs, hack systems, and gather intelligence. Africa presented its own challenges. The varied terrain allowed human forces to strike and fade into jungles, deserts, and mountains. Local forces who knew every hidden path and waterhole led aliens into ambushes. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting not just military forces but entire populations. Commander Krex received hourly casualty reports, each worse than the last. His grand invasion was turning into a massacre, not of humans but of his own forces. The primitives had turned their planet into a meat grinder, and his soldiers were the meat. "Commander," his aide said quietly, "we've lost 40% of our ground forces. Ship losses are at 20% and climbing. The humans show no sign of surrendering. In fact, their resistance is intensifying." Krex closed his eyes. He had conquered worlds with space fleets and energy weapons. He had never conquered a world where every inhabitant was a potential warrior, where every piece of ground was a potential trap, where the enemy was willing to destroy their own planet rather than surrender it. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's on all frequencies." General Hayes appeared on the screen, flanked by military leaders from around the world. Behind them, a banner showed the flags of every Earth nation united. "Commander Krex," Hayes began, her voice steady and confident, "you came to conquer Earth. You failed. You returned with a larger force. You're failing again. Let me explain why. You see technology and assume superiority. We see challenge and find solutions. You follow rigid doctrine. We adapt and overcome. You fight to conquer. We fight to survive. And a human fighting for survival is the most dangerous creature in the universe." She paused, letting the words sink in. "You have two choices. Leave now and never return, or stay, and we'll turn this entire planet into your grave. We've learned your technology, we know your weaknesses, and we're just getting started. The nuclear barrage was a warning shot. The city fighting is practice. You haven't seen what humanity is truly capable of when pushed to the brink. The transmission continued. Look at your casualties, Commander. 40% losses in a few days. How long before it's 60? 80? Total? We can rebuild our cities. Can you rebuild your army light years from home? We're 8 billion strong, and every one of us is willing to fight. How many soldiers can you afford to lose? Hayes leaned forward. Go home, Commander. Tell your empire that Earth is off limits. Because if you continue this invasion, we won't just defend our world. We'll take your technology, build our own fleet, and bring the war to you. Humanity has a long memory and a longer reach. Do you really want to be the one who taught us how to wage war among the stars? The transmission ended. Silence filled the Zephyrian command ship. Every officer waited for Krex's decision. The commander looked at the tactical displays. Red markers showed his losses, each one a soldier who had never lost a battle before coming to Earth. Green markers showed human forces scattered, hidden, but everywhere, and multiplying. They're insane, Lieutenant Vrax muttered. They're willing to destroy their own world to defeat us. No, Krex corrected quietly. They're willing to sacrifice everything to keep it. There's a difference. He thought about the human tactics, their creativity, their sheer bloodthirsty determination. He thought about what would happen if these creatures ever reached the stars with their own fleets. The galaxy would never be the same. Sir, his aide prompted. Your orders? Krex made the hardest decision of his military career. Signal all forces. We're withdrawing. Full retreat to the fleet. Sir, the aide couldn't hide his shock. We could win, Krex admitted, if we're willing to lose 70, maybe 80% of our forces. If we're willing to turn Earth into a radioactive wasteland. If we're willing to face 8 billion creatures who learn our weaknesses faster than we can exploit theirs. But what would we win? A destroyed planet inhabited by a species that would never stop fighting, never stop hating, never stop looking for revenge. He turned to face his bridge crew. We came here expecting to fight primitives. Instead, we found a species that has turned warfare into an art form. They don't just fight to win, they fight to utterly destroy their enemies. And they're getting better at it every day. The evacuation was a nightmare. Human forces harassed the retreating aliens every step of the way. Missiles followed drop ships into the sky. Long-range artillery bombarded landing zones. Special forces teams infiltrated alien perimeters to plant explosives. The humans weren't content to let their enemies leave peacefully. They wanted to send a message that attacking Earth came with a blood price. Sergeant Martinez led one of the pursuit teams. They chased a group of Zephyrian warriors toward their evacuation point, using captured alien weapons alongside human firearms. The aliens' ordered retreat turned into a rout as Marines picked them off one by one. Remember Camp Pendleton? Marines shouted as they fought. It had become a battle cry, a reminder that humans had stood against impossible odds, and won. By the time the last Zephyrian soldier made it to the drop ships, their casualties had reached 50%. Half of the greatest military force in the galaxy had been destroyed by a species that hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel. As the alien fleet pulled away from Earth, they left behind more than just destroyed equipment and dead soldiers. They left behind technology that human scientists immediately began studying. They left behind knowledge of the greater galaxy. Most importantly, they left behind a united Earth with a common purpose. In the Global Defense Command, leaders from every nation watched the alien fleet retreat. There were no cheers this time, just grim determination. They'll be back, General Volkov said. Maybe not the Zephyrians, but someone will try again. General Hayes nodded. Then we'll be ready. Start Phase 2 immediately. We have alien technology to reverse engineer, ships to build, and soldiers to train. Next time someone tries to invade Earth, we'll meet them in space. Around the world, the transformation began. Factories that had produced weapons to defend Earth now worked on something bigger, humanity's first true space fleet. Scientists studied captured alien technology with newfound purpose. Military academies added courses in space combat tactics. The battle for Earth was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy had just begun. And based on what the galaxy had just witnessed, humanity was going to be a force to be reckoned with. 2 years had passed since the Zephyrian Empire retreated from Earth. The planet had transformed beyond recognition. Where once nations competed and quarreled, now they worked together with single-minded purpose. The threat from the stars had given humanity something it had never possessed before: true unity. In shipyards that once built aircraft carriers, strange new vessels took shape. Human engineers had torn apart every piece of abandoned Zephyrian technology, learned its secrets, and improved upon them. The first Earth Defense Fleet ships were ugly, brutish things, human engineering welded to alien technology, with typical human disregard for aesthetics. But they worked. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the EDS Vengeance. She had been Corporal Chun during the Battle of Camp Pendleton, but her innovative tactics had earned her rapid promotion in Earth's new combined military structure. Status report, she commanded. All systems nominal, Admiral, her executive officer replied. The new shield generators are holding steady. Weapons systems show green across the board. Chun nodded, looking through the view screen at Earth below. The planet bristled with defensive satellites, orbital weapons platforms, and hidden missile silos. No one would catch humanity sleeping again. Ma'am, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from deep space. It's not Zephyrian. Chen's eyes narrowed. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a creature unlike anything they had seen. Where the Zephyrians were massive and brutal, this being was tall, slender, with crystalline features that seemed to shift and change. Greetings, humans of Earth, the being said, its voice melodious but cold. I am Harbinger Veltak of the Ethereal Collective. We have monitored your conflict with the Zephyrian Empire with great interest. Chun kept her expression neutral. State your intentions, Harbinger. Direct. Aggressive. How fascinating. The aliens seemed amused. We're here to offer you a choice. The Zephyrians have marked your world as a Class X threat. Do you know what that means? Enlighten us, Chun replied. It means you are considered too dangerous to conquer through conventional means. The Galactic Council is debating your fate. Some call for your immediate extermination. Others suggest containment, a quarantine around your solar system that would last forever. We offer a third option. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Chun stepped forward, which is, prove that humanity can be more than savage warriors. Face our champion in single combat. If you win, the Ethereal Collective will sponsor Earth for membership in the Galactic Council. You would gain access to trade, technology, the vast community of civilized worlds. If you lose, the Harbinger paused. Your planet will be quarantined for 1,000 years. Chun was about to respond when another officer interrupted. Admiral, we're detecting a massive energy signature. Something's coming through. It's a portal of some kind. Space twisted and tore open near Earth's moon. A ship emerged unlike anything in Earth's database. A beautiful, organic-looking vessel that seemed to be grown rather than built. It dwarfed even the Zephyrian battleships. You have one Earth day to decide, Harbinger Veltak said. Choose your champion wisely. They will face Korthax the Undefeated, who has killed warriors from 100 worlds in ritual combat. The transmission ended. Chun immediately opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. This is Admiral Chun. We have a situation. Within hours, Earth's leadership convened an emergency session. The debate was fierce but short. Humanity couldn't afford to be quarantined, locked away from the galaxy, while other species advanced around them. They had to accept the challenge. But who would be their champion? The answer came from an unexpected source. Gunnery Sergeant Thompson, now Colonel Thompson, stood before the assembled leaders. With respect, the choice is obvious. We need someone who understands combat at every level. Someone who's faced these aliens before and won. Someone who can think outside the box. General Hayes raised an eyebrow. You're volunteering, Colonel? No, ma'am. I am recommending Sergeant Jake Martinez. He created half the tactics we used against the Zephyrians. He thinks like no soldier I've ever met. If anyone can figure out how to beat this Korthax, it's him. Martinez was located at a training facility in Nevada, teaching the next generation of Earth Defense Force Marines anti-alien combat techniques. When told of the situation, his response was characteristic. "So, I have to fight some alien champion to save Earth? Sure, why not? Just another day in the Corps." But Martinez wasn't foolish. He immediately requested access to all available intelligence on ritual combat in the galaxy. What he learned was sobering. These duels followed strict rules. No projectile weapons, no explosives, just close combat with traditional weapons. It was designed to favor larger, stronger species. "They're stacking the deck," Martinez told his planning team. "This Korthax is probably 3 times my size with centuries of combat experience. In a straight fight, I'm dead in seconds. So don't fight straight," Chun suggested, visiting him during preparation. "Do what humans do best. Cheat." Martinez grinned. "Admiral, I like how you think. But they'll be watching for that. I need to cheat in a way that looks like I'm playing by the rules." He spent the next 20 hours studying everything. Alien anatomy from Zephyrian corpses, physics of larger beings, weak points in natural armor. Scientists and soldiers worked together, pooling their knowledge. Dr. Kim, who had discovered the resonance frequency of Zephyrian armor, had an idea. Every biological system has vulnerabilities. This Korthax might be undefeated, but that just means no one's found his weakness yet. As Earth's day ran out, humanity prepared for the duel that would decide their fate. The location was set, a neutral platform in space, created by ethereal technology. Representatives from dozens of species would witness the combat. Martinez suited up in specially designed armor. It looked primitive compared to alien technology, but human engineers had hidden surprises within. The metal was an alloy reverse-engineered from Zephyrian armor, but modified with Earth materials. His weapon was equally special, a blade that appeared to be simple steel, but had a monomolecular edge and a core that could vibrate at specific frequencies. "Remember," Thompson told him as he prepared to depart, "you're not just fighting for Earth. You're showing the galaxy what humans are capable of. Make them fear us." Martinez nodded. "Don't worry, Colonel. By the time I'm done, they'll think twice before messing with Earth again." The arena was a sight beyond imagination. A platform of pure energy floating in space, surrounded by viewing shields where hundreds of alien species watched. The ethereal ship loomed overhead like a crystal cathedral. Martinez stepped onto the platform, feeling the artificial gravity adjust to Earth normal. Across from him, a portal opened and Korthax emerged. The alien champion was magnificent and terrifying. 9 feet tall, covered in natural armor that looked like polished obsidian, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. 2 arms held massive blades that hummed with energy. Its head was elongated, with multiple eyes that tracked Martinez's every movement. Harbinger Veltak's voice echoed across the arena. "The rules are simple. Combat continues until one warrior yields or dies. No energy weapons, no projectiles, no outside interference. Begin." Korthax didn't waste time with posturing. It moved with frightening speed for something so large, closing the distance in seconds. 4 blades swept toward Martinez in a pattern that left no room for escape. But Martinez had spent 2 years preparing for moments like this. He didn't try to block or dodge conventionally. Instead, he dropped flat, sliding between the alien's legs and slashing at what he hoped was a tendon. His blade struck and skittered off the natural armor. Korthax spun with surprising agility, bringing its weapons down where Martinez had been. The human rolled aside, the energy blades carving gouges in the platform. The crowd murmured. They had expected the human to die in the first exchange. Martinez circled his opponent, studying. Every movement gave him data. The way Korthax favored its left side slightly. The half-second delay when it switched from offense to defense. The way its armor plates overlapped. Korthax attacked again, a whirlwind of blades and claws. Martinez gave ground, parrying when he had to, dodging when he could. His enhanced armor took several hits, servos whining as they absorbed impacts that would have shattered normal human bones. "You only delay the inevitable, human," Korthax growled, its voice like grinding stone. I have killed species far mightier than you. Yeah, Martinez panted, wiping blood from a cut on his cheek. But were they Marines? He triggered the first surprise in his armor. Microjets fired, giving him a burst of speed that caught Korthax off guard. Martinez launched himself at the alien's face, blade aimed for its cluster of eyes. Korthax raised two arms to block, but that was what Martinez wanted. He grabbed one of the alien's wrists, using its own strength to swing around behind it. His blade found a gap in the back armor, drawing the first alien blood of the match. The crowd gasped. Korthax, the undefeated, had been wounded by a primitive human. The alien champion's response was volcanic. It spun, all four arms creating a deadly sphere of flashing blades. Martinez had to throw himself back, one blade catching his chest armor and carving a deep groove. But Martinez was smiling. He had drawn blood. The alien could be hurt. The combat continued, a deadly dance of thrust and parry. Martinez used every trick he knew, throwing dust from pouches hidden in his armor to obscure vision, using Korthax's size against it, attacking from unexpected angles. Korthax adapted quickly, learning Martinez's patterns. The alien had centuries of combat experience across dozens of worlds. It began predicting the human's moves, cutting off escape routes, forcing Martinez into increasingly desperate defenses. 10 minutes into the fight, Martinez was bleeding from multiple wounds. His armor was failing, one arm hanging nearly useless. Korthax pressed its advantage, driving the human back toward the edge of the platform. You fought well for a primitive, Korthax said, raising all four blades for a final strike. But this ends now. You're right, Martinez gasped. It does. He triggered his blade's special function. The vibration started at a frequency too high to hear, quickly cycling through thousands of variations. Dr. Kim's theory was that somewhere in that range would be a frequency that resonated with Korthax's natural armor. At first, nothing happened. Then, Korthax stumbled, its eyes widening. Cracks appeared in its obsidian armor, spreading like a virus. The alien champion looked down in shock as pieces of its natural protection began to fall away. Impossible, Korthax bretted. Nah, Martinez said, forcing himself upright. Just human science. The fight changed completely. Without its armor, Korthax was vulnerable. It fought desperately, but Martinez pressed his advantage with ruthless efficiency. Every wound slowed the alien further. In the end, it came down to will. Both warriors were exhausted, bleeding, pushed beyond their limits. But Martinez had something Korthax didn't. He was fighting for his entire species. 8 billion humans were counting on him. With a final surge of strength, Martinez broke through Korthax's guard and placed his blade at the alien's throat. Yield, he commanded. Korthax's multiple eyes focused on him. In them, Martinez saw something he hadn't expected: respect. I yield, the alien champion said, loud enough for all to hear. The arena erupted. Some species cheered, others sat in stunned silence. The primitive humans had defeated the greatest single combat champion in known space. Harbinger Veltak appeared on the platform, its crystalline features unreadable. Unexpected. Most unexpected. You have won, human. Earth will be offered membership in the Galactic Council. Martinez lowered his blade, then did something that shocked the watching aliens even more. He offered his hand to help Korthax stand. You fought well, Martinez said. On Earth, we respect our enemies when they show courage. Korthax stared at the offered hand, then slowly accepted it. You are not what we expected, human. Yeah, we get that a lot, Martinez grinned. As medical teams rushed to tend both fighters, the implications rippled through the watching crowd. The humans hadn't just won. They had shown honor and victory. They could be brutal and cunning, but also merciful. Back on Earth, the celebration was immediate but brief. Admiral Chun and the other leaders understood what this really meant. Earth was about to enter a much larger arena, one where politics and trade could be just as dangerous as warfare. General Hayes gathered her staff. This is just the beginning. We've shown we can fight. Now we have to show we can think, negotiate, and survive in a galaxy that sees us as dangerous primitives. Within days, alien delegations began arriving at Earth. Some came to trade, others to gather intelligence, a few to offer alliances. Humanity had to learn galactic politics on the fly, but they had one advantage: they were very good at adapting. The Ethereals proved surprisingly helpful, perhaps seeing Earth as a useful ally against their rivals. They provided information about the major powers, the unwritten rules, the dangers to avoid. The Zephyrians are still debating whether to demand vengeance. Veltak informed Chun during one meeting. Other militant species watch to see if you are a threat to the established order. Let them watch, Chun replied. We didn't ask for any of this. We just want to be left alone. But if they come for us, they'll find we've learned from last time. Indeed, Earth's military development had accelerated beyond anyone's imagination. The first proper warships of the Earth Defense Fleet were nearing completion. Marines trained in zero-gravity combat. Scientists worked on improvements to every piece of alien technology they could acquire. But perhaps the most important development was cultural. Humanity's first contact had been violent, but it had unified the species. Old prejudices seemed petty compared to the vast galaxy around them. The Marine Corps motto of improvise, adapt, overcome became Earth's unofficial policy for dealing with alien civilizations. Martinez, recovering from his wounds, found himself a celebrity both on Earth and beyond. Several alien species requested to study human combat techniques. He turned them all down. Our strength isn't in any one technique, he explained to Thompson. It's in how we think, how we refuse to accept defeat, how we turn every disadvantage into an opportunity. That's not something you can teach, it's something you are. 3 months after the duel, Earth received its official invitation to the Galactic Council. The ceremony would take place on the Council's capital station, a massive structure at the galaxy's center. Humanity would need to send representatives. The selection was careful. Admiral Chun would lead the military delegation. Dr. Kim would represent the sciences. But they also sent artists, musicians, writers, humans who could show that Earth was more than just warriors. As the human delegation prepared to depart on an ethereal ship, Martinez stood with Thompson, watching Earth recede through a viewport. Think we're ready for this? Martinez asked. Thompson shrugged. Were we ready for the Zephyrians? We'll figure it out. We always do. Aura, Martinez agreed. The journey to the council station took weeks through hyperspace. The humans used the time to study, plan, and prepare. They knew they were walking into a political battlefield as dangerous as any combat zone. The Galactic Council Station defied human understanding. A structure the size of a small moon, built from technologies accumulated over millions of years. Ships from thousands of species docked at its ports. Inside, atmospheres and gravities shifted to accommodate different life forms. The council chamber itself was a vast amphitheater where representatives from every member species gathered. The humans entered to find themselves the focus of intense scrutiny. The council president, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical shell, called the session to order. We gather to consider the admission of Earth to our assembly. Who speaks against? A Zephyrian representative rose. The humans are savages who turn everything into weapons. They cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Others voiced similar concerns. The humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Chun was given the floor. She stood, looking around at the assembled aliens. You call us savages, she began. Perhaps by your standards, we are. We fight. We struggle. We refuse to accept defeat. But let me tell you why. Humanity evolved on a death world. Everything on our planet tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, the diseases, even other humans. We survived by being smarter, tougher, and more adaptable than everything else. She paused, making eye contact with as many species as possible. You fear us because we defeated the Zephyrians. But we didn't want that fight. They came to conquer us, and we defended ourselves. Yes, we're dangerous when threatened. But look at our history. We're also capable of great beauty, art, compassion. We've split the atom and used it for both weapons and power. We've gone to war and made peace. We contain multitudes. Chen's voice grew stronger. You can exclude us from your council. You could try to contain us. But you've already given us the keys to the stars. We've learned your technology, improved on it in some cases. We'll build our own ships, find our own way. The question is, do you want us as allies or as outsiders who owe you nothing? She sat down to silence. Then Korthax, still bearing scars from his duel with Martinez, stood. I speak for Earth's admission, the former champion said. I have faced their warrior. I have seen their honor. Yes, they're dangerous, but they're also capable of mercy. Is it not better to have such beings as friends rather than enemies? The vote was close, but Earth was admitted to the Galactic Council. As the human delegation celebrated quietly, they knew the real work was just beginning. Over the following months, humanity established itself in the galaxy. Trade agreements were negotiated. Technology was exchanged. Earth's position was unique. They were newcomers but had already proven themselves in combat. Some species sought them out as military advisors. Others wanted to study human adaptability. The Marines became particularly popular as trainers for species looking to improve their ground forces. But humanity didn't forget the lesson of their first contact. Earth's defenses continued to grow. The fleet expanded. New technologies were developed. They would engage with the galaxy, but they would never again be caught unprepared. Martinez, now wearing Major's insignia, stood before a class of mixed species at Earth's new Interstellar Combat Academy. Humans, ethereals, and even a few young Zephyrians sat together, learning human military doctrine. The first lesson of human warfare, Martinez began, is that there are no rules except one: survive. Everything else is negotiable. Your enemy's strength can become their weakness. Your weakness can become your strength. The battlefield isn't just where you fight. It's a puzzle to be solved. He looked at his diverse students. You're here because your species want to understand human combat. But what makes us dangerous isn't our tactics or our technology. It's our mindset. We don't just fight to win. We fight to ensure we never have to fight the same enemy twice. A young Zephyrian raised a claw. But surely honor in combat means honor is for those who can afford it, Martinez interrupted. When your species' survival is at stake, honor is a luxury. You do whatever it takes to protect your people. That's the human way. As the class continued, similar scenes played out across Earth and beyond. Humanity was learning to be part of the galactic community while maintaining their edge. They traded and negotiated, made friends, and identified enemies, always remembering that the universe was a dangerous place. The Zephyrian Empire eventually sent an official embassy to Earth. It was a tense moment when their ships arrived, but they came in peace. Commander Krex himself led the delegation. You have earned our respect, Krex told Earth's leaders. We still think you're insane, but we acknowledge your strength. Perhaps there are things we can learn from each other. It was the beginning of an unlikely friendship between former enemies. The Zephyrians taught humans about galactic navigation and the politics of the outer systems. Humans taught Zephyrians about adaptive tactics and unconventional thinking. As Earth's first year in the Galactic Council ended, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of humanity's newest warship, the EDS Perseverance. Around her, a mixed crew of humans and allied species worked together. Status report, she ordered. All systems operational. Her executive officer, a young officer who had been a private during the first invasion, responded. The fleet is ready for deployment. Chen nodded. Intelligence had reported raids on human merchant ships near the Galactic Rim. Pirates or something worse, it didn't matter. They threatened Earth's people, and that meant a response was required. Send word to the fleet, Chen commanded. Humanity goes to the stars not as conquerors, but as protectors. But let anyone who threatens us know, we are the species that sent the Zephyrian Empire running. We are the ones who defeated Korthax, the undefeated. We are humans, and we will not be victims. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity's message to the stars. They would explore, trade, learn, and grow. But they would also fight when necessary, with the same fierce determination that had saved their world. In the depths of space, other species watched and wondered what they had unleashed by attacking Earth. The humans were loose in the galaxy now, bringing their chaos, their creativity, and their indomitable will to survive. The universe would never be the same. 5 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Earth's transformation was complete, from an isolated world to a major player in galactic politics. Human merchant ships traded in markets across the galaxy. Earth Defense Force vessels patrolled shipping lanes. Marine expeditionary units served as peacekeepers in disputed systems. But not everyone was happy with humanity's rapid rise. In the shadowed chambers of the hegemony, an alliance of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful species, a secret meeting was taking place. Representatives from the Vorthan Empire, the Crystalline Hierarchy, and the Ancient Ones gathered around a holographic display of human space. They spread like a virus, hissed Ambassador Thekvar of the Vorthans, his serpentine form coiled in agitation. 5 years, and already they control key trade routes. Their military grows stronger each day. The Zephyrians were fools to attack them directly, responded the crystalline representative, its form shifting between solid and energy states. But they taught us a valuable lesson. Humans cannot be defeated through conventional warfare. The Ancient One, a being so old its original form was long forgotten, spoke in thoughts rather than words. Then, we use their strength against them. Humans excel at war because they are divided, competitive, always fighting among themselves. What if we encouraged those divisions? Explain, Thekvar demanded. Observe. The hologram shifted to show Earth. Even now, their unity shows cracks. Different nations compete for resources, for influence in the Council. Some humans grow wealthy from galactic trade, while others do not. We do not need to destroy them, merely help them destroy themselves. The plan was insidious in its simplicity. The hegemony would use economic manipulation, targeted misinformation, and careful political pressure to drive wedges between Earth's nations. They would support radical elements, create artificial shortages, and spread rumors designed to inflame old prejudices. Patience, the Ancient One counseled. The humans defeated the Zephyrians in weeks, but their own internal conflicts lasted centuries. We simply need to remind them of their true nature. On Earth, the first signs of trouble were subtle. Trade disputes arose between nations over alien technology licenses. Some countries seemed to receive better deals from certain alien species, creating resentment. Resources that should have been plentiful became scarce due to shipping delays and market fluctuations. Admiral Chun, now Fleet Admiral of the Earth Defense Force, noticed the patterns first. In her office aboard the orbital command station, she studied reports with growing concern. These aren't random events, she told her staff. Someone's manipulating our supply chains, our communications, our entire economic structure. General Thompson, her ground forces commander, nodded grimly. I've noticed increased tensions at the integrated bases. National groups that worked together perfectly last year are suddenly having cultural conflicts. They're trying to divide us, Chun realized. Someone out there understands that humanity united is unstoppable, but humanity divided. She didn't need to finish. They all knew Earth's history. The hegemony's plan might have worked on the humanity of old, but they had made a crucial miscalculation. They were dealing with humans who had faced extinction together. The bonds forged in a Zephyrian invasion ran deeper than any artificial division. When mysterious shortages hit the Americas, Europe immediately shared their reserves. When false intelligence tried to implicate China in secret alien deals, Russia's intelligence services exposed the deception. When radicals tried to bomb an integrated military facility, veterans from a dozen nations stood together to stop them. Major Martinez, now running Earth's Special Operations Command, identified the pattern. It's psychological warfare on a planetary scale. But here's the thing about humans. When we realize someone's trying to play us, we get angry. And when we get angry together, he smiled coldly. We get even. Operation Unity was humanity's response. Instead of falling for the divisions, Earth's leaders did something unprecedented. They publicly acknowledged the attempts to divide them and united even more closely. National boundaries became even less relevant. Resources were pooled globally. Intelligence services shared everything. But the real response was more subtle. If someone wanted to play games, humans would show them how the game was really played. Earth's intelligence services had learned much from their alien allies. The Ethereals had taught them about quantum communications. The Zephyrians, now reluctant friends, had shared military intelligence protocols. Combined with human creativity and centuries of espionage experience, Earth's spy networks were formidable. Within months, human agents had identified the hegemony as the source of the interference. The Ancient Ones thought themselves too powerful and too clever to be discovered by primitives. They were wrong. So, they want to see humanity divided? Fleet Admiral Chun asked during a classified briefing. Let's give them what they want to see. Operation Trojan was brilliant in its simplicity. Earth would appear to fragment, with nations pulling back from cooperation and pursuing individual agendas. Media would report increasing tensions. Military units would seem to segregate along national lines. But it was all theater. Behind the scenes, humanity worked together more closely than ever. The apparent divisions were carefully scripted, designed to draw out the hegemony's agents and reveal their plans. The Vorthans took the bait first. Seeing an opportunity in Earth's apparent weakness, they approached several nations with exclusive trade deals designed to further divisions. Human negotiators played along, pretending to be tempted by offers that favored one nation over others. Meanwhile, Earth's real response was taking shape in the shipyards of Mars. Humanity had learned from every encounter, every piece of technology, every alien strategy. The next generation of Earth Defense Force ships incorporated the best of human and alien technology, Zephyrian armor, ethereal shields, human weapons, and, most importantly, human tactical systems. The EDS Redemption was the first of the new Titan-class battleships. Commanded by Captain Sarah Kim, formerly the scientist who had cracked Zephyrian armor, it was a fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology that surpassed both. All systems nominal. Her crew reported as the ship underwent trials. Stealth systems operational. Weapons charged. The quantum tunneling drive is online. Kim smiled. The quantum drive was humanity's improvement on standard faster-than-light travel. While other species pushed through hyperspace, humans had figured out how to punch holes in it. It made their ships unpredictable, able to appear where no one expected. As Earth played its grand deception, the hegemony grew confident. Their agents reported increasing success. Humanity was fragmenting, they believed. Soon, the upstart species would tear itself apart, and the galaxy could return to its proper order. The Ancient One was particularly pleased. See how easily they fall back into chaos? They are not evolved enough for galactic civilization. Once they destroy themselves, we can quarantine their system and ensure no other primitive species rises so quickly. But while the hegemony celebrated, strange things were happening across the galaxy. Pirates that had been targeting human shipping found their bases mysteriously exposed to authorities. Corrupt officials who had been bribed to delay human permits were suddenly under investigation. Computer systems and facilities owned by hegemony members suffered inexplicable failures. It was humanity's real message. We know who you are, and we can reach you anywhere. The climax came during a Galactic Council session. The hegemony had prepared a resolution to censure Earth for its internal conflicts, the first step toward removing humanity from the Council. They expected a weakened, divided human delegation. Instead, Fleet Admiral Chun entered the chamber flanked by a united delegation representing every nation on Earth.